welcome here. If you're new here, my name is Rebecca. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you for coming back and watching another video. So in today's video, we're going to talk about 50 things to declutter. But before we dive in, if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe down below. Give this video a like if you end up liking it. If not, that's okay. Don't give it a like, but please give it a like. Oh my God, this hair. Do you think it's time that I buy a comb? I think it's time. In case you're wondering, if you shave your head 3 months later, buy a comb or else your hair is gonna look like this. What's even happening? All right, so 50 things to declutter. Before we dive in, just a really quick caveat. I'm by no means saying that you should get rid of all of these things that I put on the list. This is really meant to just help with ideation, maybe a little bit of inspiration if you're looking for like where to start or like what to do next. Just some like thought starters more than anything else. Okay, with all that said, let's get started. All right, so I've loosely bucketed these things by like areas or rooms of a house just in order to like give it some organization. And I'll put links to those different categories in the description box below. So if you're interested in like one part or like one room of the house or something like that, you can skip ahead. All right, so in no particular order, let's start with the office. First, get rid of, declutter any pens that don't work. Pens are a thing that tend to stockpile in a house, and I'm guilty of this too, of like trying to use a pen, it doesn't work, and then you put it back from where you got it. Get rid of it. Number two, tech cords that you don't use anymore or you don't know what they go to. If you don't know what they go to, you're never gonna use them. And same thing with cords that you have multiples of. Like if you have 4 phone chargers, just be realistic with yourself of like, how many phone chargers do I actually need? And do you really need to be saving all those phone chargers you have like just in case? Number 3 on the list is books that either you have and have not read or that you keep holding on to in the thought that you're going to read them again, but really you're probably never going to read them again. My philosophy on books is really to only hang on to the ones that I know I like to read multiple times or go back to reference, or books that for whatever reason have a sentimental value to me. Number 4 is bad or duplicate photos. And this goes for both physically printed photos, but also photos that you have digitally, like either on your phone or in some sort of like storage space. Especially now where we can sort of take unlimited photos, I think a lot of us, myself included, tend to take multiple photos that are kind of the same. Like when there's a moment you want to photograph, you're like, oh, here's 11 photographs of this moment. So just going through, and it can be even like right after you take a photo, and just saving only the best one. Number 5 on the list is media that you can't play or use. So just going through any like CDs or DVDs and just being honest with the fact of like, are you actually going to use this or listen to it or watch it? Or is it something that is available, maybe streaming, that you could get instead of having to hold on to the physical item? Number 6 are extra planners and notebooks. I think notebooks are a thing that a particular personality type, kind of like my personality type, like type A, love to make lists kind of personality, tend to collect because they can be very sort of aesthetically pleasing. So they're definitely a thing that I think can be evaluated to see if we have maybe a few too many. Number 7 is old phones. Like why? Why do we hold on to old phones? I think sometimes it's because, especially these days, like a smartphone is so expensive. It's hard to like just say like, I'm gonna get rid of this super expensive thing. But a lot of times you can sell it or even send it off to a place to be recycled. Number 8 is to declutter any papers that you can access digitally. So I have a whole video on eliminating paper clutter, and I'll link to that down below or like maybe up in the little corner box, whatever corner it goes in. But anything that you can access digitally that you're not required to hold on to a paper copy of, just shred it. Number 9 is academic papers and notebooks. This took me a little while. For some reason, I was holding on to like all of my college books that I didn't sell when I graduated, and like all these notes I had taken, and especially with like things that I've done as like continuing education after college, like I've done some yoga teacher trainings and things like that. I just was holding on to all of that stuff and never, ever, ever referencing it. I will say that I got rid of everything from college. Like I didn't really need it, but you may need it depending on what your profession is. I know I have a friend who's a scientist and she does go back and reference some of the things that she did in college. But for me and what I do in my career, like I don't need any of that. I will say that I did hang on to some of the notes and things that I took during yoga teacher trainings just because I do still teach yoga, but I digitized all of it. I scanned it all in and I can easily reference it online, so I don't need to keep the actual paper copy. Number 10 is to declutter your computer desktop. To me, this makes a huge difference in the productivity of my workday. If my desktop is just like cluttered with files, I can't deal. It just starts my day, like I'll open up my laptop and just staring me in the face is like a mess. So if you're someone who keeps a ton of stuff on your desktop, either try actually filing it away in some system, or even just creating files on the desktop so that when you look at it, it feels a little less chaotic. Number 11 is promotional items or free things. These are things like t-shirts and notebooks and those like little squeezy stress balls and pens and like all the things that you get for free and you think they're great because they're free. Just evaluate whether or not you're actually using them and if you actually need to keep them around. Number 12 is to declutter your social media following. So the social media that I use most often is Instagram and YouTube, and recently I went through and unsubscribed and unfollowed anyone who I felt like wasn't adding some sort of value or joy or humor or fun to my feed. And honestly, it's made a huge difference with like the impact that scrolling through social media has to make it more of an enjoyable experience. All right, so let's move on to the bedroom category. Number 13 is to declutter any clothes that no longer fit. I think one of the biggest benefits of minimalizing a wardrobe is the ability to open your closet or your dresser drawers and to love every single thing you have, so that any outfit you put on is an easy yes. It's an easy choice to make. Instead of having to try things on and being like, I don't love the way this fits, or like this doesn't go with something else. If you only have in your closet things that fit your body in this moment, it's gonna make getting dressed an enjoyable process. And I think there's definitely exceptions to this rule. I think, especially women, if you are pre or post pregnancy, there's definitely different size clothes you might wanna keep around. But for the most part, having a wardrobe that fits your body in this moment, whether or not you wish your body was different, is gonna help bolster confidence in the body that you have right now. Number 14 is extra hangers from the closet. If there's a bunch of extra hangers, you're probably gonna feel like you need to fill them up and then probably buy things you don't maybe actually need. If you're somebody who dry cleans your clothes often, you might get like those wire hangers back from the dry cleaner. Somehow hangers just seem to accumulate. So my rule of thumb is to have as many hangers as you need in the closet, plus like 2 or 3. And I find those 2 or 3 are helpful if like you decide to migrate something like from a drawer into the closet, or if you do bring new things into your wardrobe. Number 15 is to declutter clothes that are not your style. I feel like we're all sort of guilty of doing the thing where we buy a piece of clothing because we see it on a particular website or a particular model, or it's in a particular store. And it's almost aspirational, like we wish that it looked like that on us, or we wish that that was our style of clothing. And then we buy it, but we never wear it because it doesn't really fit with the rest of our wardrobe, or it doesn't really reflect our personal style. Just get rid of those things. Number 16 is winter coats. How many winter coats do you need? I found that like 2 winter coats is usually good. One like very utilitarian, like big, heavy, it's freezing cold, it's snowing winter coat, and one that's like a little bit more lightweight, maybe a little bit more stylish, but having like multiple winter coats might not be necessary. Number 17 is shoes. Mostly shoes that are uncomfortable. Why be uncomfortable? Don't do that to your poor feet. And I'm not saying you have to sacrifice style for comfort. I think that there's a marriage of both of those, and there's room for both of those in your wardrobe. But those shoes that like every time you look at them, you're like, those are so cute, but like, ouch, my feet. Declutter. Number 18 is bag clutter. Whether you carry a backpack or a purse, it just seems to be a magnet for like cluttery things. So things like trash, receipts, loose change, lip balm that's empty, like all that stuff that just kind of accumulates in your bag, just go through your bag, declutter it. Number 19 is activewear. This is a tough one. I feel like activewear is one of those things where we feel like we need a lot and we feel like that's a motivation to actually work out. So just go through your activewear, be honest with how many times a week you actually work out and what you actually need to keep in your wardrobe. Number 20 is bridesmaid dresses. I've been a bridesmaid 6 times, I think, and every single time you get the dress and you're like, oh, this is a thing that maybe I'll wear again. You wanna know how many times I've reworn a bridesmaid dress? 0 times. I've never worn one again. Go ahead and declutter. Number 21 is suitcases. A lot of times suitcases come like in a set. A lot of us have multiple suitcases. Just be honest with the way that you travel and what you feel like you really need and declutter any extras. Moving on to the kitchen. So number 23, is it 23? Nope, 22. Number 22 is mugs. Mugs are a thing. For whatever reason, I think it's because they hold like warm drinks and they're comforting. Like they're a thing we tend to collect as humans for whatever reason. And even as a minimalist in a family of 2 + 1 dog, we have 6 mugs. It seems like, do you really need that many mugs? Probably not, but those are the ones that I love. So just going through and being honest with how many you feel like you actually need for yourself and for any company that you might have in your home. Number 23 are kitchen gadgets. So as a minimalist, I enjoy things that serve more than one purpose, especially in the kitchen. So I'm thinking of things that are good for like one specific food, like something like an apple peeler. Like, do you need a specific gadget in your home that is good for one task only? Or is that something that you can declutter? Number 24 is reusable bags. Don't get me wrong, we should all be using reusable bags, hopefully ones that are machine washable, that have a really long life, that are really durable, but there's a tendency to hoard reusable bags. A lot of us have a huge collection of them, more than we would ever need. So maybe going through, being honest with yourself about how many you actually need and use. Number 25 is dish towels. How many dish towels do we actually need? I've been known to own upwards of like 15 dish towels. But like, in what circumstance do I need 15 dish towels? And don't get me wrong, I still do have a lot of dish towels, mostly because we don't use paper towels in our kitchen, so we're constantly using towels for something. But do you need a giant collection of dish towels is more the question. Number 26 is expired food. Yeah, yuck. You don't want to eat that. Get rid of it. Number 27 is magnets and papers magneted to your fridge. Is that how you would say that? Papers that you've like stuck there with a magnet, you know. I feel like having a bunch of stuff on your refrigerator is an easy way for your kitchen to feel really cluttered. So just take a moment to ask yourself, like, is this something I actually need to be putting on the front of my refrigerator, or is this appropriate for another place in my house? Number 28 are glass jars. I think a lot of us have this tendency to say, like, if I have a glass jar, like, must remove, label, and reuse, but you don't have to keep it. You can always recycle it, or you could do something else with it, like package a gift in it. You know, there's lots of other uses for it. You don't have to have it taking up space in your cabinet just because it's something that you purchased. Number 29 are water bottles and travel mugs. How many do you need? Do you keep using the same favorite ones over and over? Do you need an entire cabinet full of water bottles and travel mugs? Probably not. Number 30 are food containers with outlets. Pet peeve. I hate having a food container that doesn't have a matching lid. It's lost its usefulness to me in that case. Unless you can like repurpose it as like a bowl or like something you can eat out of or something like that. But otherwise, like a food container without a lid is just not useful. Number 31 are spices. I'm so guilty of this. We have so many spices in this house and we probably are not going to use all of them. So again, just having like a really honest conversation with yourself of like, what kind of food do I cook? What are the spices I like to use? Do I really need 55 spices in my house? I need to take my own advice. Number 32 are flower vases, or vases if you're fancier than me and you say vase. I say vase, not fancy. The number that you need in your house is going to be different for everyone depending on how many fresh cut flowers you like to keep around. I keep 0. I find that I have all these other glass jars that I can repurpose if I do bring cut flowers into my house. I don't need like a billion different sizes of actual flower vases. All right, let's move into the bathroom. Number 33 is expired makeup. I feel like sometimes we hold on to this kind of stuff out of guilt. We bought it, we paid money for it, and maybe didn't use it all up, or maybe didn't like it, but there's no reason to hold it over your own head. Just get rid of it. Number 34 are extra towels. How many towels does your household actually need? We found that 2 towels per person gives us enough to actually be using and then share with guests should we have any guests staying over. Number 35 is old medication. This could be medication that you were prescribed and never finished, or maybe over-the-counter medication that you've had for a really long time and never used. If it's expired, let it go. Number 36 is shower products that you don't use. So if your shower is just filled with like bottles and bars of things that you're no longer using. Just evaluate what are the things that you use on a daily and weekly basis and that you actually need to be keeping inside your shower. All right, we're almost there. We have one more category to go. And this is kind of just like miscellaneous, like things that just popped into my head that didn't really belong in any of the other categories, but I wanted to include. Number 37 is loyalty cards. A lot of times we have loyalty cards that we either don't use or not stores that we frequent often enough to use. And sometimes a lot of loyalty cards you can access via an app on your phone. So seeing if that's an option and getting rid of any loyalty cards that you're not actually using. Number 38 are knickknacks that don't have a meaning to you. I do think that surrounding yourself in your home with special things from your life is a great way to make it feel comfy and cozy in your house. But having things that are just there to have things and to take up space, just evaluate if that's something that you really need and want, or if it's something you could declutter. Number 39. Oh, I know you want to play. We're on number 39. I'm going to be done soon. Thank you very much. Just chill out for like 10 more minutes, okay? Thank you. Number 39 are remotes that don't go to anything. Kind of like with the tech cords that I was talking about at the beginning. Just take a moment to go through the remotes in your house. Make sure you know that they work and you know what they go to and that you still use that thing. Number 40 is streaming services. Do you use all the streaming services that you pay for every month? Like, do you really need like Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus? Like, do you need all the things? Or is there one that you and your family use the most and you could just get by with that one? It could be a great way to save a little bit of money every month. Number 41 is sentimental items. I know, just hear me out. I think that sentimental items should be interacted with. I think that they should live in an accessible place in your house where if you're feeling bored one evening, you can take out your little box of sentimental items, interact with them, love them, appreciate them. So if you're holding on to things that are just stashed away in a corner and you never interact with them and you don't plan on interacting with them, maybe they're not as sentimental as you think and you can actually declutter them. Similarly, number 42, greeting cards without a sentimental value to them. Sometimes we save greeting cards or like handwritten letters because they're greeting cards or handwritten letters, not because they bring us actual joy into our lives. So you're not gonna hurt the person's feelings who sent it. They never have to know that you didn't hold on to it. It's up to you. It's their gift to you. So if it brings you joy, keep it. If you're keeping it just because of what it is, maybe you can declutter it. Number 43 is old paint. I feel like every time we paint something, we hold on to that can of paint for like touch-ups or if we're gonna like repaint the wall, which totally makes sense, but I feel like we hang on to the paint way past its usefulness. So if the paint is old, expired, no longer good, just get rid of it. Number 44 is blankets. I feel like blankets are another thing where we just feel like we need to have a lot of them. I don't really know why. I think is something about the human psyche being like, must have blankets, must keep warm with all of our mugs and all of our blankets. So just doing an honest evaluation of like, how many blankets do we actually need at any given time? If it was like the coldest night and everybody in the family needed 2 blankets on their bed and we also need to cuddle up on the couch with a blanket, like, how many blankets is that? Do we need any more than that? Number 45 is exercise equipment. I feel like exercise equipment is one of those things that's purchased with the best intentions in mind, but we don't always use all of it. So if it's not something that's part of your routine, maybe consider decluttering it. Number 46 are hobby items that you're no longer using. Maybe you thought you were gonna get like really into rollerblading and you bought rollerblades and knee pads and elbow pads and a helmet, and then you're like, wait, rollerblading's not that fun. But you held on to that stuff because you invested in that hobby, even though it didn't end up piquing your interest for very long. I feel like it's another one of those things that we hold on to out of guilt because we spent a lot of money on it. But you could always sell that stuff or donate it to somebody else who maybe is super into rollerblading or whatever. Number 47 are guilt gifts. What I mean by this are gifts that you received that don't add any value to you, are things that maybe you don't want or don't need, but you're holding on to it because it was a gift. You don't have to do that. I think that's all I have to say on that one. You don't have to. It's your home, it's your life. You are in control of the things that you allow into your life. You don't have to keep something just because somebody gave it to you and you feel guilty about that. Is that harsh? I don't know, maybe. Number 48 are keys. Declutter any keys to like places you don't live anymore or PO boxes you don't have anymore or keys to places you used to work. Try and keep your keychain minimal, get rid of the extra clutter. Number 49 are playing cards. I feel like they're another one of those things where like we must have 6 decks of playing cards, but like, do you ever really play a game where you need 6 decks of playing cards? I feel like at most you might need 2. Like, I think there's some games where you need like 2 decks of cards, but at any rate, decluttering incomplete decks or extra decks that you don't need. And number 50, the last one on the list, declutter anything that doesn't add value or bring you joy. It's that simple. The end. All right, so that concludes my list of 50 things to declutter. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some ideas for maybe some areas in your house that you could tackle and declutter. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I put out new videos every Tuesday. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone. Where are my notes? Hello. I love you, won't you tell me your name? No, I know your name already. Gypsy. Oh, a dog. Getting distracted. Things to declutter, things to declutter. Bucketed. What's up, Buttercup? Hold everything. Gypsy needs to chase a fly. The huntress is successful. Exciting life of a dog. Number 6 are, okay, we're done.